Dom and Johnny in the morning. All right, well, this is not going to come out before the first few New Year's episodes because I'm a few behind in terms of editing. But yeah, the time we're recording this is our first week back after our New Year break. So I figured today we could just talk about, some of our New Year's goals for the martial arts or personally or anything like that. You just mentioned before I hit the go button that you have a whole spreadsheet. So, what are some of your New Year's goals?
Oh, man. I have so many. I always split my goals, and I think this came from Master Ken because we used to do goal setting as part of commitment night, which is now the showcase. But it used to be commitment night, and it was done at the end of the year, and we would do goal setting. And with it, there were always 3 goals. There was academic, personal, and I cannot remember the other one. But
was it martial arts related, or was it?
It was three sections of your life. So your life.
Yeah.
I don't think career was on there, but we were also,
Yeah.
How's a 10-year-old gonna, write their career goals?
Yeah.
It might have been attitudinal.
Then that's different than personal.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it might have been scholastic, attitudinal. I can't remember. This was so long ago.
I actually have some in the I won't get them now, but like in the student folders that we have for some of our student, like I have my student folder in there, and I've got commitment night sheets from
crazy.
a decade or more ago.
But that kind of stuck with me, so I always break my goals into usually 3s, because 3 is the magic number. So this year I have my career goals that have to do with my school, and then I have my personal goals, which I've broken up into fitness and academic. So physical and academic. So I have, at the top of my list is my school goals, which is, to take a school that was small and humble and to make it into a not so small, but still humble school. And that's, I have a whole list of goals underneath that goal, like a whole list of subset goals underneath there. So the biggest thing that Ken used to talk about with goal setting was they have to be positive, they have to be present, they have to be attainable. I think those were the big 3, and then there are a couple other rules that were there too. Oh, and personal. And they have to be measurable. Sorry, 5.
Yeah.
So, whenever I'm doing my goals, the biggest thing is, one, I need to make sure it's something that I can measure.
Yep.
Student count is great. I can measure student count. It has to be positive. So it can't be something like, I won't be lazy. Well, that's
right.
Number 1, that's not measurable, and number 2, that's negative. With the school, I have numbers that I want to hit. So I have, my main premise, which is I want a successful school. So that's not measurable. So then I have my goals underneath it, which is how many students I want to get to. And then underneath that goal, I have stepping stones.
Right.
So that's, I won't go into all the specifics of it, but that's how I base, my career-based goals. Now, my physical goals, I want to really push myself harder than ever before. And this came from a snarky comment from my wife, which I think is a really good way to ground you sometimes. And I remember talking about how Master Ken talks about the 3 things a teacher should be is a athlete, a teacher, and a community leader. And my wife goes, well, you're not really an athlete.
Ooh, scathing.
And I was like, what do you mean I'm not an athlete, And she was like, what do you do, compete in 2 tournaments a year and, do a couple of push-ups and sit-ups with children? And it hit me deep.
All right, hold on. I have to interject for a moment. Given that a gross majority of adults in our country, all they do is sit, lie down, and maybe walk around a little bit. You have to define what an athlete is, but I love that you took responsibility for it, because sometimes it's the thing that makes you mad that motivates you the most.
Yep.
But also it's a perspective thing. So there are things that most people your age, you can do that most people can't already. So you're building off greatness into excellence. But yeah, I think that's just a funny thing. I feel the need to defend you.
No, and you know what? I felt the need to defend myself.
Yeah.
And that was my quick reaction. And then I thought about it. And I think it came to when she was asking me, she's like, well, what did you do today? And I was like, well, I did push-ups with all the class. She's like, well, how many push-ups was that? And I thought about it, and I was like, it wasn't that many push-ups, you know. And then I started thinking about when the last time I got in the gym was. You know, I used to be so much more dedicated to making sure I got my cardio in.
Yep.
To making sure I got my weight in. And right now, because I'm on the floor teaching all day, every day, and I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups with all the kids, I tend to stay leaner without doing actually a lot of intense workouts. So I'm just because I'm active, you know, I'm getting a lot of that, you know, non-exercise activity, thermogenics, and then I do have sprinkled in, you know, push-ups and sit-ups, a little bit of resistance training, and it's causing me to burn a decent amount of calories through the day.
Yeah.
Where I can almost eat whatever I want because I'm always moving and I'm always working out, but I'm not actually working my cardio, and I'm not really working that that resistance training. So I'm not sore at the end of the day, you know? So it made me think about that, and, you know, and I think that happens with a lot of martial arts teachers, you know, because you're moving all day, and you're getting a little bit of a workout, and you forget that, you know, if you want to build strength, you got to push yourself to the limit. You got to
Right.
hit that point where, progressive overload. You have to be able to hit that progressive overload. And then with my cardiovascular, you know, which is important, you know, especially, you know, if you have a family history of heart disease like my family does, cardiovascular is super important. You know, I can't forget that, you know, I should just get out there and maybe do a couple mile run, or run all my forms in succession, which is a phenomenal workout, especially if you're a black belt or higher.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things, you know, that I thought about, you know, when I got called out on my professional athlete status.
Well, yeah, I have a little bit of commentary on just that. First, food really does matter, like, especially if heart disease is a concern. Like, it's amazing you can do all the working out stuff correctly, but if the food intake is still creating, you know, plaque buildup in the old arteries, you know, it's still going to stress your system in an unhealthy way. The other thing, though, is, you know, more and more as I've been experimenting and as Ken has been driving it home, at one point we talked about zone 2 training. So the idea is in cardiovascular conditioning, 80% of the training should be at a rhythm where it almost feels unproductive because you're not getting super sore. So, like, as I'm listening to you talk about how it's like, oh, well, I'm only doing, you know, push-ups and sit-ups with the kids every single day, and I'm not feeling super sore, like, that's fine 80% of the time. So it's really only a 20% difference where you're starting to play with zones 3, 4, and 5. A lot of people, when they make New Year's resolutions about their health, I feel like they rev too high too quick, and it's unsustainable. So that they end up, you know, getting too sore, too burnout, or even injured, so it prevents them from. So it's like, again, I feel the need to jump to your defense, because again, even assuming that's all you're doing, which is still more than most people, you're 80% of the way there. You're starting at a B-. You're like, so.
No, I agree, and I do agree, and my fitness goals are pretty mild, you know.
Yeah.
So I just have resistance training twice a week. That is my New Year's resolution.
Which I think is again, perfectly attainable.
Yeah. And, you know, I think my lower body gets a really good workout from especially just being in low horse stances. So I'm not as concerned about it. I feel like I stress my legs more in martial arts, especially things like wall drills and stuff like that. But my upper body doesn't as much. So yeah, and then I have a water goal, because that was a big thing.
Like hydration?
Yeah. Yeah, so drinking my body weight in ounces. So I weigh roughly 160, so I'm trying to take in 160 ounces a day.
Interesting. How's that going for you?
Pretty good. It's pretty easy since most bottles are 16 ounces.
So you can just take 10 of them.
And a pint glass is 16 ounces, so, you know, 10 glasses of water or 10 bottles of water, and I'm pretty good. So,
first of all, how long have you been doing that? Like, has it just been since the first, or did you start it before
since
the New
the
Year?
first. On between Christmas and New Year's, I ate an unfathomable amount of cookies, and which is something I don't do. Funny enough, when we talk about diet, I eat pretty clean normally. You know, my guilty pleasure is ramen. And even when I do ramen, I usually have an egg on top and a bunch of veggies in it.
It's not like just the Maruchan.
Exactly.
With the the little salt packet or whatever you put in. Like
Yes.
you told me your ramen recipe, and it's not instant ramen.
Yeah, I also don't drink the broth.
Yeah.
So I dump the broth after. So that's a tremendous amount of sodium I'm not taking in.
Yep.
And fun fact, if you are becoming an intense athlete, sodium is super good for you. It's actually required. If you do not have enough sodium, you will not have enough hydration.
Yeah. It's just there's a way to get it probably that's not just the salt packet in the instant ramen container, you know.
No.
Yeah.
but that's why things like Gatorade have, higher sodium content.
Yep.
So those drinks that, have electrolytes. I love people when they're just like, oh, I need my electrolytes, but I try and stay away from sodium. It's like, well, sodium's an electrolyte. It's just, you see all these things online and it makes you're like, oh, sodium's bad. And you're like, oh, sodium's bad. Electrolyte's good. Oh, electrolytes. Same thing, sodium, potassium, water, magnesium electrolyte. I always forget. There's like 4 big ones.
I was just curious. So since you started hydrating a lot more, have you noticed any significant or noticeable changes?
Yes. Yeah, I have to pee more at night. No, actually I've been sleeping better, which is funny. As long as I stop drinking my water by like between 6 and 8 o'clock, depending on when I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to go to the bathroom at night. I sleep better when I'm hydrated. I've also noticed that I'm better cognitively. I had a staring contest with a student during demo, and I was able to keep my eyes open for a surprisingly long time. I was like, wow, I've never been able to do this before. And it's just your body has more fluids. Your eyes are more lubricated. So,
actually, that my sister mentioned something because there's like a meme about how people in their 30s back in the 1980s, like why did they look like 60-year-olds, but now you've got like 50-year-olds that look like they should be in their late 20s. And there's one theory that it's simple hydration. Just people are more hydrated, so their skin doesn't get as wrinkly as quick. So yeah, it's just to your point.
Then beyond the physical goals, I have my academic goals, and those are mainly having to do with my knowledge of this art.
Yep.
And its history, and my knowledge in sports medicine. So I am still working on my NASM certification to be a personal trainer, because I feel like the way I want to go is I do want to train kids to be their best selves. I want to train adults to be their best selves. But for those who want to pursue that martial arts from an athlete standpoint, because there's a handful of people like me who wanted to take that route. I want to be someone who can help support them. And so that's a big goal of mine. I'm about halfway through the certification right now, but it is deep.
Yeah.
I love it because it's a lot of good information, but it is deep, a lot deeper than I was expecting, which is good.
Yeah.
So, I highly suggest if you ever want to, go into the personal trainer route, the NASM certification is incredible. So,
nice.
But yeah, that's my overview of my goals. I would love to hear what you got going on.
Well, I want to circle back to something that we started with, which is just the positive present personal. Just like, because there's a lot of psychological research that the language that we use matters a lot on our behavior and our sustainability. So those 3 Ps are still relevant. So positive, like you said, just means that you have to move towards something, not away from something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So saying like, for example,
I won't eat sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good one. A lot of times The sugar is the thing you just start thinking about. So first of all, is it realistic to actually just cut out sugar entirely and go cold turkey? For most people, the answer is no. And it does have to be personal. You can't make a goal, you can't assign a goal to someone else. There's an ownership component. And the present is the one that throws a lot of people. Like, you can't put it off to the future. So the goal isn't I will do something. It's I am doing something. You're taking action on it and you're doing it now. And like you said, part of the attainability and the measurability is there's baby steps. So Ken used to talk about the sugar one, actually. He used to, this is going to sound really silly, he used to love apple juice. But apple juice has a boatload of added sugar to it. So he actually started by cutting it down with water. So it was like a half apple juice, half water, and just slowly started dialing it back until, you've got water. One of the ones that I experimented with last year, just because I was curious, was ice cream. There's some ice creams that are made with like way less sugar, way less calories. And when you actually try regular ice cream again, all of a sudden it's almost too sweet. There was a King of the Hill episode about that where Bobby's mom made him cut out sugar, and he's like, I can't drink soda anymore. And a lot of times I feel the same way. Like, if I go to the movies with Julia and she gets a soda and I take a sip of it, it's like, yeah, you get hit. Like, it's almost like a punch. So that's just for anyone curious about the framing of that. That's part of it. Another part of goal setting has to do with how you relate your identity to the goal. So instead of, there's a lot of power of just saying, I am an athlete. So, and other people may question it because their lens of what that term means may be different than yours. But rather than saying, I do a bunch of push-ups or I do a bunch of sit-ups, when you start with it as an identity, it makes it easier to follow through on the promises that having that identity matches. So that all being said, my goals, I love the breakdown of academic, physical. One of the career one, it's not as intense as yours. I feel like since COVID, a lot of my goals regarding the martial arts school had to do with getting into rhythm. Because ultimately, the thing that I've learned more and more since COVID is sustainability is like a better goal than just trying to like inject a bunch of energy. So a lot of it had to do with like tweaking the design of things, adjusting, what our programs look like, how students are able to enter them and continue with them. Since focusing on that, we've had a lot less students get discouraged and quit at ranks that they traditionally would. Actually, I had to do this because of the showcase, because we have each of the ranks come up. We have 43 green belts right now in our school. That's about 20% of our entire student base is just sitting at that one rank. And then we have 13 green stripes on top of it. So a lot of our class sizes started to make sense when I actually ran the little census. But this year, a lot of the career is more just getting ahead of stuff. So now that we've gotten into a fairly predictable rhythm of the events that we like to do and the frequency that it makes sense to do them, now it's getting ahead so that they don't sneak up on us and we're trying to scramble at the last second. And by getting ahead, as adjustments need to get made, we're able to address them sooner and smoother. And it also starts to leave space for more interesting things to branch out. Like, we have a few guest instructors already scheduled to teach things over the next few months. So those little opportunities start to be able to be included a lot more gracefully, and hopefully we get even more martial arts knowledge shared amongst our students.
Cool.
So that's like the career one, I think. Academically, something I took action on last year, and I just want to continue, is just reading classics. And the classics I'm interested in. So, like, my mom tried to do this, and she started with Breakfast at Tiffany's, and she didn't like it.
Musashi's Book of Five Rings.
Yeah, which
they're
on my shelf. Actually, those are ones I read in college, and I'm going to revisit. They're on my list. But yeah, things like that, like Another
Can I borrow
one.
your copy of Tao Te Ching? I've read Book of Five Rings. I've never read the Tao Te Ching.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually have a copy you can just have.
Really?
Because I have multiple copies, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things I did last year was I just went to the pretty cover section of the Barnes & Noble classics, and I bought a bunch of them.
All those hardbound ones?
Yeah.
Those are nice.
So I have a whole bookshelf of these hard cover, classic writing, literature, classical literature of all sorts of things. So, absolutely. So yeah, you can. I have an older copy of the Tao Te Ching. You can just have.
Awesome.
But yeah, and there's a lot of things like classical folklore and mythology that I know the bullet points, but it is different reading it for yourself because there are some things that people just don't talk about. So when there are fun details like that, it kind of changes the way that you think of who wrote it, how it's been passed down through history, what's been emphasized, what's been de-emphasized. So academically, that's kind of something I'm continuing. Physically, a lot of it has to do with just body recomposition. That's the way I've framed it. So a lot of people think of it as weight loss. I just think of it as kind of rebalancing, and how you thought of it is wonderful. So a lot of times Ken will talk about, the 5 spokes of fitness. You brought up 2 of them already. Cardio, strength, and the martial arts is great for stability, flexibility, and mobility. So just to break those down, cardio is your heart endurance. There's like a drill, Kenzit, which is you literally just run in place as hard as you can for a minute. You rest for a minute. You run in place for a minute. So after 5 to 7 times, you should be pretty out of breath. And if you do that already, you're in like the top percentile of people. And by top percentile, I don't mean literally one. But I do mean like you're healthier than a lot of people on the planet. And then strength, weightlifting, body weight exercises, that kind of thing. And then the flexibility is just the pliability of your muscles. So it's not hyper flexibility where you're doing a perfect split, but a lot of times our injuries occur because we're too rigid. So rigidity is the first step to frailty. So just the pliability, I think, is a really important thing, especially as you build strength. And pliability issues a lot of times are related to strength. Some muscle group isn't strong enough, so another muscle group tries to make up for it, and it gets super tight because it's overworking. So a lot of times, like flexibility, these things overlap. They're not necessarily compartmentalized. But then you've got mobility, which is more your fast twitch muscles. So mobility is something you're famous for. Just how quick you are and how you're able to leave the ground and land successfully. And then stability is your ability to balance a lot of times on one foot. So a lot of those I don't feel too bad on, but I want to make sure that as I practice, I'm paying attention to the balance of where my attention is going. So for a while, strength was a big one. I've learned that I can maintain the strength benefits without paying attention to it as much, so I can make room for cardio, like you said. And flexibility is the other one, just making sure, a little yoga or something like that, just to, yeah. Dom and Johnny in the morning.